My name's Annie. I'm an independent artist. I go under the name Austel. I'm also in a couple of other bands. Um, we're going to be talking a bit today about digital release and how to go about that as an independent artist. This is particularly interesting for me because I've self-released 2 EPs, and for my first single, I tried to go down the route of employing a PR company and absolutely hated the experience and felt like I'd wasted loads of money. So then since then, I've been trying to get better at doing it myself and understanding it more. So it'd be really great to learn a bit more about that today. So would you guys like to all introduce yourselves? You've all got microphones. Great.
Hey guys, how you doing? My name's Teddy Lewis. I'm the digital marketing coordinator at the record label Mute. I'm also a releasing musician under the band Excuse. Well, hey, there we go. Action. I'd just like to say that I've been to a lot of panels about marketing over the years, and I know sometimes they can be quite ambiguous. You come away feeling like, there's a lot spoken about, but what did I really get out of it? What can I really put into action? So I'm hoping that, what myself and these guys can do for you today is that by the time you're going home tonight, you're thinking about it. You're thinking about something that you can really put into practice, and hopefully we'll give you some real value there.
Hi, my name's Hannah, and I work at AWAL. We're a digital distributor, and we also have AWAL recordings separate to that. I hope I can answer some of your questions around setting up a release and that whole distribution process.
I'm Toni. I'm head of marketing and artist relations at Emubands. So we're a digital distributor. We work with everyone across multiple genres, from bedroom artists right through to heritage acts. And my role there is helping artists with their campaigns and seeing where we can assist them with any marketing strategies and playlist pitching, etc.
Cool. Great, thanks guys. So I think a good place to start is to talk through step by step what an artist actually needs to do for a digital release, chronologically. Who would like to start talking through that?
Start with your creative assets and make sure that they're all finished. The amount of times that we're working with artists and they'll come to me and they say, can we start distributing this, but I might have to swap out a track or swap out artwork at a later date. It is possible for us to do that, but it can really interrupt the flow or the message of the campaign if we have to start making changes. So I would say that. Also, because digital distribution is really, really quick, right? We can get things live in 24 hours, but please get it to me 4 to 6 weeks before the release date. I can't do anything with your release if it's you're coming to me on a Wednesday for a Friday release date. So timing is gold to us. So yeah. And
so within those assets, what are kind of the breakdowns of everything that an artist should prepare?
So the actual final masters, so the master recordings in their final form, obviously the metadata, so your track listing and release title and all that sort of jazz. And just because I only deal in digital, so we only need those 3 things, data, audio, and artwork. So I only need the front cover artwork, but obviously if you're doing physical, then you're going to need everything else. But in terms of a full campaign, I manage a couple of artists as well. So in those creative assets, I would put video content. If you've got, it doesn't have to be music videos, but if you're having visuals attached to your songs, etc., all that stuff should really be finished before you're sort of firing the gun on the campaign.
Yeah, I think I'd just add that I think in 2019 the video content is absolutely the key, 100%. And I know self-releasing musicians here, or if you've got a small team, is that generally you're going to be quite time poor. Everyone here is probably going to have a part-time job, full-time job. And when you know that you've got an EP release or you've got an album release, you're going to do a string of singles in 6 months' time, I think it's much more effective if you do get that content well in advance. Start thinking about it 6 months prior. Go, right, I need 3 music videos for this album. Start working on them 6 months prior. If you know that you're going to do some little interview clips talking through the songs for social media, for your Instagram stories, start doing it straight away, because once it comes to that time in 6 months where it's crunch time and you're doing your release, just make sure you have it, because you don't want to be rushing it. I think it's the same as you know, we were saying over there. It's just that you don't want to be giving it to your digital distributor, you know, 2-3 days before the release, because, you know, there's other sides to that. There's playlisting, which, you know, it's good to give to Spotify. If you've got, you know, get yourselves a Spotify for Artists profile. Everyone can get that. Make sure you've got that. And then you can essentially, you know, apply for playlisting once you've got your music in the system. Get that done like 6 weeks before you're going to release. Otherwise, you're just going to be rushing, and that's the last thing you want for an effective release.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend sort of before you even get your assets together, deciding what you're going to do. Are you going to drop a single? Are you going to, you know, release your EP and do 2 singles beforehand? Sort of, we have a lot of artists that will kind of release a single and then panic. They haven't thought about the longer term plan for their campaign. So I would sort of have that all decided before you go uploading your first release, and sort of look into your digital distributor, read their FAQs, find out what other services they can offer to you before you start doing anything. At AWAL, we can kind of help with playlist pitching if you get in touch 6 weeks in advance. But, you know, the digital music services have their own deadlines, and if we miss those, we can't kind of override them. So kind of do your research, figure out what services you can get, and even things like artist mapping. Once your releases have been delivered, we can check that for you. We can make sure that your releases have made it to your Spotify page, your Apple Music page before the release comes out, and that can kind of sometimes be messy for artists.
Yeah, does everyone know what artist mapping is? So if you have,
I was about to ask.
Yeah, if you have a name, like your artist name is maybe similar or the exact same as another artist, some DSPs will allow us to deliver alongside your release an identifier that will make sure it goes to the correct page on the initial delivery, but oftentimes there isn't a way for us to deliver that identifier. So if your band name is, you know, at the Beatles or something, then you're gonna probably end up on their page, which would cause all sorts of bother. So yeah, if again, it's like if you get in touch and have a conversation with your distributor, we can check that that's all working as it should before it actually goes live.
Well, this is nice because it's kind of gone very well into my next question about how do you choose a distributor? I can't even say the word. I mean, I'm actually with AWAL, but it took a long time for me to kind of go through, and I was trying to sum up different options, and yeah, like what's the best way to approach finding the right person to work with for you?
Yeah, so I would kind of the same thing, decide what you want from your digital distributor. Do you kind of want to pay a one-time fee and kind of do it that way, or at AWAL we can kind of offer some additional services. There's the knowledge base that we have, and you get access to loads of articles on kind of all areas of the distribution process, and beyond that there's the AWAL analytics tool, where you can see your data from the digital music services, and you can kind of analyze this and see how your campaign's going. And there's the AWAL blog, where there's interviews and kind of articles on playlisting and PR. So maybe that's kind of the sort of service that you're looking for. So yeah, I definitely do your research and see kind of which distributor you think would work best for you.
Do you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say almost the exact same thing. There's so many options in the distribution world now, more than there ever has been, which is making the field slightly more competitive for companies like ourselves. But I think every good distributor is going to be able to offer you some kind of personal support. So try and make sure that you have a kind of named contact at a company that can help you manage whether it's manage your account or manage specific releases. Try and make sure that you're working with someone who can give you that personal support. And obviously every distributor is going to have a portal. Make sure that the portal's easy to use and you're going to get analytics quickly, whether that's kind of trend information, how quickly it takes them to report royalties, how they pay royalties as well is an important thing for independent artists. And I think it seems like a bit of an obvious kind of thing, but do you actually like the people at the company that you're dealing with? It's rare that anything goes wrong, certainly at my company, but you're going to want to have someone that you can chat to at the other end of a phone, and they can help you with any issues that you have. So I think it's still definitely a people business rather than anything else, although it's mostly tech. I think it's still driven by really good people, so make sure that there's good people at the distributor that you choose. AIM have just published a distributor report called Distribution Revolution, which has 12 points in it. If you're approaching a distributor, there's a sort of checklist of things that you should sort of ask the distributor. So I would recommend having a read of that before you choose any partner.
And there's obviously different financial options as well, which, you know, some people, I know for me, I'm kind of trying to weigh up, okay, do I actually want my distributor to take a cut, or do I want to pay an upfront cost? Is there a real difference in that, or like what would you say is kind of does it literally come down to personal preference, or how does that?
Yeah, I mean, there's, again, I think the three main sort of pricing models that distributors offer are kind of flat fee per release models, annual subscription based models, so you have to pay every year, or there's like revenue share deals where they'll take a cut of the royalties. Some employ maybe two of those at the same time, where so some will do a flat fee plus a revenue share. Some will do a subscription payment plus a revenue share. We at Emubands, we operate on a flat fee basis, so we're a flat fee per release, and we don't take commission on the royalties side. I don't think there's anything wrong with distributors who take a cut of royalties. I think you just have to be sure that they are bringing a value to your releases if they're going to be sharing in the sort of profits of them.
Anything to that, guys?
I don't know too much about sort of that from the other side, but AWAL takes like a 15% commission from royalties, so yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, let's go on to a kind of more of a breakdown of like literally doing your own digital marketing, because there's so many different aspects of this. And I don't know, when I started first looking into it, I was really lucky to have a friend who worked in digital marketing who was able to kind of translate some of it for me and help me out. But things like learning how to set up Facebook pixels and reading the stats, like how do you start going about that if you aren't sure, or if you've never really done that before?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's effectively how I got working at Mute, was that you're a self-releasing musician, you've got the music, you've got the content, you've got your image, and you're thinking, how the hell in 2019 how do I find an audience? How do I actually get people to see the music? And there's just such a wealth of resources out there to be able to learn yourself, and I'm kind of the proof in the pudding in that you can get yourself up to a really good standard in a good level of time without, too much stress, essentially. There's something called the Facebook Blueprint. That's really good, because I think when we're looking at, when we're working with smaller budgets, you want to think, what's the most cost-effective way that I can reach a new audience? And at the moment, that is still very much Facebook and Instagram. It really is. Their Facebook ad manager platform is just so intricate and advanced, but in a way that is actually quite easy to navigate, and for you to be able to, create your audiences that, if you're saying you sound like the 1975 and Bastille, where you're going to pop them in, that you want to target the UK, that people between the ages of 16 and 25 are going to be your fan base, put them in. If you're going on a tour and that you're playing Liverpool, London, Manchester, put those locations in that audience. And this is all, if you just go on Facebook, we've all got Facebook, I'm sure, go on the ad manager and just have a look around. Really, just explore. Don't fear it, because it really is easy to do once you get your head around it. I think that's the best place to start, is just to start, even on Facebook, there are groups, and you can just type in like Facebook music marketing groups, and it'll come up, and there's going to be like 10 that you can join, and people are constantly there as like a community, like sharing new ideas, new strategies, ways that you can do it as a self-releasing musician. So just find these, join them, and I think just start exploring, really.
Yeah, just wanted to add, I guess, kind of before you start looking into your digital marketing, like decide who you are, like what's your narrative as an artist, kind of what's your message, what do you want to put out there, and then that will help you like build your content and give you like a stronger foot to go on.
Yeah, I was just going to add to sort of say both those points, but don't be afraid of data. So there's like so much data that you can get. Try and understand who your fans are before you start trying to effectively sell them something. So you know, Teddy, you touched on the ad manager, but like if you're already releasing music, then you should be able to get data from at least 2 DSPs. So like you have Spotify for artists, you've got Apple Music for artists. The amount of data that's coming in through both those platforms is absolutely amazing to break down and find out just where your fans are, who they are, so like the age of them and the sort of demographic information, and what other artists they're listening to, so that can sort of really help shape how you're going to communicate with them. And what Hannah said about that kind of idea of like even if you're a solo artist, there's you as a person and then there's you as an artist, and they might be the same thing, but sometimes there's like a slight embellishment or just a slight change in the artist persona. And I think if you don't know who you are before you start marketing, you're going to lose like what I think is the most important thing in marketing, which is that kind of authentic message that you're putting out as an artist. So if your marketing message lacks authenticity or a kind of realness, it's not going to resonate with people.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something I think that, I noticed that within people. I'm like, oh, they've really got their like message and their brand. I hate the word brand, but you can see everyone's kind of like got their different things that they're doing. In terms of honing in on different platforms, obviously there are so many. I mean, you've said obviously Facebook and Instagram are the two big ones. I would probably agree with, like, that's where I place my kind of focus. But are there any kind of tips on really kind of mastering those? I think sometimes I get a bit suspicious when I pay for a Facebook ad and it says that X many people have seen it, and I'm like, really? Because people haven't engaged. Like, how can you become a bit more into that?
I mean, I think that is where, you know, what Toni and Hannah were saying as well, is that having the, you know, having your brand there, having the content there ready in place for when you're going to go ahead and do your release is super important. And then, you know, I think there's almost like a perspective shift that you need to have, you know, as a musician when you want a successful release and reach new audiences, is that, you know, just for a show of hands, how many of you guys in this room at one stage in your life have invested in yourself in terms of either studies or learning to drive or anything like that? How many of you guys? You can put your hands up. See, that's like nearly all of you. And the thing is, I bet that all of you would actually rather be a successful musician and fulfill your dreams than any of those things. So you've got to keep a perspective that if you're willing to invest in those things, then invest in yourself and invest in your music. So again, I'm working on a 6-month time frame here. So if you're going, well, I can afford to put in, let's just say 40 quid a week. 40 quid a week, and you know that in 6 months' time you're going to launch a campaign. By that point, you're going to have like a little war chest of like £1,000. And in that same time, you've now got that budget ready for when you're going to launch, and you've got all that time to be developing your content. You've got all of that time to be, you know, looking through the data that you might have from previous releases on your DSPs. You know, you've got the data that you've run, you know, might be running little £20 experiments, seeing what audiences are reacting to. You know, I'd always say like a good place to start if you want to trial out some content is if you have got a video or, you know, a nice music video, or you've got footage of you playing, take like a 60-second clip, right? Take a nice 60-second clip, make it a square format, because you're going to get as much space in the feeds as you possibly can. If you just go for the landscape video, generally, you know, people aren't going to notice. They just, you know, they skim right through and they're missing your ad that you're paying to get in their timeline. Do that. And what I would say is, with these guys, you know, coming from distributors, we are in an age now where with streaming, you can actually make a direct return on your investment in marketing. You really can. Because if you're going, here's a 60-second clip to grab your attention of a song, and then I'm going to say a little bit about it, make sure that in the top 4 lines, so people don't have to click see more to see it, you've got your link to say, go to Spotify, follow me there, right? Because all you're doing then is you're building up your audience, you're building up your listeners on Spotify, on Apple, and then you're going to go into your digital distributor, and you are going to see the money actually coming back from that. You know, I'll tap on it a bit later, and you know, won't hog all the mic space here. Sorry, but you know, doing that experiment is really important, and that way you're going to build an audience. Don't worry about what we now call vanity metrics, which is your page likes. It's your followers. You know, if you're jumping on TikTok, it's your TikTok followers. It's all of that, you know. Don't stress yourself about that. You know, having 100 and someone else having 1,000 likes on Facebook does not make you any less valid than that person. The key is actually to build up the audience that you can retarget through those ads. So you're building like a big pool of people that have gone, I quite like that. And you can see it in the data. You can see it in the Facebook data in the ad manager. You can see that 500 people from your ads have gone and watched 30 seconds of your video, and you can see that they've clicked onto your Spotify link. Later on, you can create an audience in Facebook to retarget those people. So then after like a 3-month period, you might have 3,000 people that for your next release, you're able to advertise directly to them because you know that they are interested in your music. And I think if you can keep that mindset, you're investing in yourself, that is going to keep you on the right path, 100%.
Well, I think, yeah, definitely. And that's almost the slight mystery around digital marketing is like, how does that then convert back into things that will make you money as an artist? Because it's all very well and good pumping loads of money into it, but like, what are you actually getting back? And I guess you want people to come to your shows, you want them to come and buy your merch, like you want them to be loyal followers, and it's kind of hard to do that in such a fickle online landscape. In terms of the goal then of digital marketing, like what is the real goal? Because it is quite elusive sometimes. Do you just want people to see your music, or how do you convert that into something tangible?
You know, so at Mute and what I do with my band, you know, it's a simple, it's a stepped process. So you don't want to market to people, a fresh audience that have never seen your music before, and go, buy my album on vinyl. Come to my show in London. You know nothing about me, but please come and pay 15 quid to come to my show. You know, that approach isn't going to work. It's a gradual process. You go, okay, here's a clip of my music. You can hear the music. You can see what I look like. Am I your sort of thing? First step. If they've converted and they go, great, that's my thing, they are in your audience. Next time, when you've got a bigger audience, the people that have converted from that first round and they've gone to your Spotify, that is when you start to go, you might even not go for an album. You might go, here's a second song, a different video clip. And then they like that. And then you start to see the people who have liked both of them. Then you hit them with the album when it comes out, because they are, you know, most probably already fans. And that is your target. Your target is to build that one audience. It's not about getting likes on the page that when you then do your organic posts, they're not seeing it anyway. It's about building that audience that you can target because you know they're fans of your music, and when you get that physical release, you know that those are the guys that are going to be the most interested in it, and you're not wasting your money. That's the key, you know. So you just got to be effective about it, and you know, once you get the album, then you can start going, hey, I'm on tour, I'm supporting the album, and I know that you guys have clicked these links to Spotify and listened to the album. You're probably interested in coming to the show. Like, just keep that mindset. That's it. Stop freaking out about the likes and the follows. Don't worry about it, honestly.
I'd also recommend sort of when sharing your music on your social media using smart links. You can use, there's loads of services out there to create them, like Feature FM's a good one, and you kind of, it creates like a landing page with a link to your music on all the digital music platforms. So someone clicks on this link, and if they want to listen to your release on Deezer, it will take them straight there. And you can kind of log into your account and you can check all the analytics and see who's clicked on the link, have they opened your release, you know, have they saved it to their Spotify, and that's just a good way to kind of keep an eye on that data.
And I'll just add to that. That kind of what you said there, Hannah, feels the bridge between the, finding these audiences and retargeting them. Is what is really good is that in Facebook and Instagram you get something called a retargeting pixel. So this is like a 10-digit, 12-digit code that you can generate on your ad account in Facebook. And what you do is you put this in your smart link. So like Hannah said, if you got Feature FM, Smart URL, Tone Den, Linkfire, these are all very valid options to go for. You can put your pixel inside the back end of that. When you just log in on your page, you take it, copy it from Facebook Ad Manager, pop it into that, and what that does is when they do convert and they click on your link, that data is captured within the pixel. So this is the key, because if you've got 1,000 people who have clicked on your smart link, in Facebook, on checking the data on that pixel in the settings, that there is 1,000 people there. That is the audience that you then go and retarget for your next post. Okay? So that is really vital. And the fact that you have the option then in these multi-links to go, here's Spotify, here's Apple, here's Deezer, here's my official merchandise store, here's HMV, Bleep, all of these different options that you could have. So it gives the choice as well.
Nice. I think, yeah, that's kind of rounding it up really quite nicely. Is there anything that you guys feel that we've missed that's like a fundamental part of the process? I think maybe the one thing that slipped my mind earlier was the holy grail of playlists, and you mentioned it briefly, Hannah, but I definitely have seen lots of services that offer, pay us this amount or you'll be on this amount of playlists. Are those genuine? Is that really how it works?
No.
I don't think it was, but...
So, yeah, that's like such a good bit of advice, actually, is if anyone's guaranteeing you like a set number of streams or playlist ads in return for money, tell them to fuck off and run away. Because, they're totally... lying to you, and what can happen, especially if it's the sort of paying for a set number of streams, is that the DSPs have kind of ways of working out what's natural and unnatural streaming activity. So basically, like, they can tell if you've paid someone and they're using a click farm somewhere, and they will normally first thing that will happen is that they'll like zero rate your streams, so you won't get paid any money for the streams that were generated through those kind of those methods. Your release will get hidden generally permanently unless you can appeal it with your distributor, and then if you do that time and time again, you'll eventually not be able to deliver anything to those DSPs. So it's really not worth the 50 quid or whatever you're going to pay for it. Plus, actually, like, building an organic audience is like the most useful thing on the planet. So there's no point in just like paying for streams for, like, you've got 50,000 streams, but it's 50,000 people who've listened to it once. Like, and likewise, you don't want like 20 people that have just streamed it over and over and over again without actually listening to it. So you want to build an audience on these platforms, and it takes time. So, like, just try not to pull any shortcuts, because generally they're not really worth it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add to what Tony's saying there, is that's just going to really warp your perspective of how well your release is actually doing if you do that, because it is going to be sending your data all out of whack. It really is, because you want to know that if I'm spending this amount of money or I'm posting this amount of content, was this effective, was that effective, that you can actually see when you look in the DSPs. You log into your digital distributor and you see the results come in, and you see the money that you're making, come in from that and from the streams. You want to know, well, if I'm spending this much and I've got 100 followers from that amount of money, how much am I making back from that? How many streams am I actually getting back from that? How many times is a new fan actually streaming my music? Are they listening to one song? Are they listening to 10? Are they listening to the whole album? And because you really want to look at that data and look at the trend, you can start to see over a period of time. You might do a campaign for a month, and then you'll go, oh, look, okay, so I had 100 followers and they all stream it on average 10 times, and this is how much I will make back from that. You can start to, it's like they're talking about in the last panel. It's about treating yourself as a business as well as an artist. Don't take it too seriously, but just have that side to you, and it's almost like being your own digital agency. And I think once you have that in mind and that's part of your tool set, you're actually building that leverage that they were talking about in the last panel when you're going into negotiations. That is a whole part of it. So if you can do this, guys, and if you go home tonight, really look at it, dig into this, what we've all been saying, I think your next release is gonna be a good one for you.
Can I just add a little bit more on the just the playlist thing, because it's like literally what everyone wants to know about. So across each DSP, the ecosystems on their playlists are quite complex and quite different from each other. One thing that all of them will have an element of is algorithmic or data-driven playlists, which are not curated by real people, and they're hugely important for actually helping you find an audience, especially as a small artist. Which was kind of one of the reasons why I would tell you not to pay for streams, because it'll confuse the algorithm and then you won't get recommended to the audiences that you're supposed to be getting recommended to, etc., etc. Taking Spotify as an example, they have editorial playlists which are curated by like real people who work at Spotify, and they're total music nerds and know everything about music. And when we talk about playlist pitching, that's who we're talking about pitching to. We're talking about pitching to those people. But as part of that process, especially if you're pitching directly via Spotify for artists with enough time out, so like 4 to 6 weeks out, as part of that process, what that does is it allows Spotify or Apple or whoever we're talking about here to do some really important under the hood processing that will help the algorithms learn more about your music. And from release, from the first day of your release, even if the editors haven't placed it in a playlist and you think, oh, we didn't get new music Friday, it's the end of the world, like it's totally not the end of the world at all. If you have done all that kind of planning and the algorithms work, you can end up sort of being placed in like Discover Weekly, which is like everyone gets their own personalized Discover Weekly, or Release Radar. Apple Music have similar things. Radio, so like the radio on DSPs is also really important, especially for people who are on these kind of free tier, so like freemium sort of services that aren't paying for the premium. They cannot all work in tandem with each other. If you're performing well through these algorithmic playlists, you can end up seeing you get a kind of uplift or an ad at a later stage to a really big editorial playlist. So it's not all about just that landing that successful pitch on that kind of first playlist. So I think trying to build an organic audience on those platforms is super important for that.
Yeah, so I'd really recommend using the Spotify for Artists playlist submission tool. You can do that yourself. It's free and it can get your release on your fans' kind of release radar playlists, and just make sure you do it with enough lead time. And that's kind of a great place to start. You can also reach out to your distributor. At AWAL, we kind of submit a curated kind of list of releases to the digital services each week, and we need lead time from you guys to be able to do that. So just make sure that you look into that and kind of approach your distributor. And you can also kind of look into third-party user-generated playlists, which are kind of curated outside of the DSPs, and you kind of can apply for them, and that's also a good way to get some playlisting.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Bursting. So ready for some questions. We've got time for questions.
Not only that, but we've got a radio mic now.
Oh, nice. There we go. High tech. Cool. Take it away, guys. Who's got some questions?
My question is just about Facebook ads. I've noticed sometimes if I do an ad that's targeted for like a similar band or something, that I can run it and then all the likes will be from a click farm, and just in really random parts of the world, and it's kind of demoralizing. So my question is, like, how do you avoid your ads just becoming like, wasting your money and just getting click farm engagement?
I mean, firstly, you've got to make sure you're doing the basics. I mean, it sounds like in this case you are. You've got to make sure you're targeting for the right territory. You do find there are certain countries, if you target them and you put them in your targeting, that you get a lot of click farm likes come in. It's inevitable. I would say there are different processes which are better at farming out that, getting rid of that. And for example, the Instagram stories, if you use that method in Ad Manager, click farms can't swipe up on a screen. So generally what you'll find is the cost might be a little bit higher when you're using that method, but you're completely cancelling out the potential when you click farms. You know, I've run campaigns where it's UK based, and you tend to find you're not really getting too many, you know, click farm clicks onto that. And I think what's important to avoid that is that there's lots of different types of objective that you can choose from, right? And I would say, like, there's two which I use more than anything, and that is the traffic. So write that down. So the traffic objective, that is the one for when you're directing traffic out of Facebook and like to Spotify, you know? That's generally really good at finding people that actually click the link and not be click farms. Whereas if you just do like a standard reach because you want to reach the most people, I would say as much as you can avoid that. I really say try and avoid that as much as possible. And on an audience side, you can obviously target the bands, and at some point you have to do that at the start. You have to, because to find any audience. But what you can do is you can create something called a lookalike audience on Facebook. Now this is really cost effective as well as being really efficient. So a lookalike audience, check it out, research it. What it does is if you've had 1,000 people convert from those bands that you targeted last time, you can create a lookalike audience that finds, it takes that pool of 1,000 people and it finds an audience just like them. So it finds people that like those sort of bands, those sort of things. And it's really cost effective. And again, generally it finds real people as opposed to bots. Give it a go.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add to that, if I can. I've been recently running quite a lot of campaigns on Facebook for my new single. And one thing that a friend of mine helped me set up, which was just really useful, was very specific different audiences. So I've got fan likers, friends of fans. So that's really helpful for people that may like my music but haven't necessarily liked my page. And then for growth, people that like similar artists, or in just different territories where maybe they like certain types of music and stuff. So I think I found it's more effective running separate campaigns for each of those audiences as well. So you're not just doing a blanket thing.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's a really good point. If you can break it up as much as possible, and I know that when you're working with small budgets it can be difficult because you're thinking, well, if I put £10 on this audience, what is it really going to do? But what you'll find is it's going to be much more effective if you are breaking it down. So you create a completely different campaign. So they're called campaigns. You've got campaigns, ad sets, and ads. It's a 3-step process, and that is what creates your campaign. As soon as you look into it tonight, you'll see what I mean if you don't already. And just create different campaigns, and you can try those different objectives. You can have one traffic, you can have one post engagement, you can have a lookalike audience, and do just break it up. As you said, it does. Facebook just tends to not rip you off as much when you do that, so it's a good shout.
Any more questions?
Hello. My question is about targeting playlist curators directly and how best to approach them in terms of a kind of like a relationship. So, for example, if you've got, let's say, a list of fans, or you've got people that already listen to you and engaging with your music, how is it best to connect with them and sort of sell yourself as an artist?
Are you talking about like editorial teams at DSPs, or like
So,
people
for
who make
example,
third-party playlists?
I've got a big list of playlist curators. I've got contact details.
Right.
Making that initial connection and how best to negotiate and establish a relationship with them.
I think I would be careful sending like emails to all those people, because especially the DSPs that have tools for submissions for artists, generally the reason why they build those tools is so that their editorial teams aren't getting like loads of emails from people. And I imagine if, like, did you find that list on a website by any chance?
Loads of different methods of it, but
Right.
this is just an example of like where they don't have a submission tool. Some
Okay.
will accept emails directly,
Yeah.
and obviously you don't want to piss them off.
Yeah.
But it's finding that balance. It's just really tips to kind of get them on your
yeah,
side.
like try and find out what playlists they are curating, and like really sort of basic thing is don't send them something if it's not relevant to their sort of genre, the genre of the playlist that they're looking after. Try and keep your email as short as possible. Like tell them a little bit about your artist project, give them a link that they can listen to it, and then if you have a link that you can give them to learn a bit more, if they want to learn a bit more, that's always good, but try and keep it to like 4 sentences. And you know, their job is to listen to music, so like if they want to, they will. So you can't really force these people to do anything other than that. Yeah, so my only advice would probably be just not to pester them too much, because that's not going to work in your favour.
Yeah, so like you can also create like a digital EPK that can go with that too, and they can click into it if they want to. And so like it's like an electronic kind of a couple of pages, a page or two, and you can include all information on your market drivers. An EPK. Yeah, thanks. I was like, oh my god, I can't remember what it stands for. Because a lot of like the services will be looking at your market drivers, and kind of getting these as strong as possible can kind of put you in a better position for playlisting. So things like tours, support slots, headline slots that you've done, any press that you've got, any sync kind of opportunities that you've had, and any kind of radio plays, and making sure that you kind of have got something in each box, and having a more well-rounded campaign can put you in a better stand for that.
I'll just ask you a question. That's all right, Hannah. Do you have any recommendations for these guys as to like the best tool to create an EPK, or are there any options out there to do that, or is it just about creating, you know, because obviously for practicality sense, you know, what is an EPK? How do you make it? Is it a thing of making, there's like Adobe Sparks? Is it like that? You know, like a Spark document? It's kind of like a posh Word document, essentially.
Is it just a PDF?
Or like a PDF, you know, Word. Essentially something like that.
I mean, I use Google Docs. I
Yeah.
hope everyone else uses Google Docs, because
Google Docs is good. But I mean that I would actually, this
so
Adobe.
you can edit it as well.
Yeah,
on
you can
Google
edit.
Docs,
And
that's quite handy.
what's cool about Adobe Spark actually, like compared to just doing a normal PDF or Word document, is that you can have interactive content in it. So you can have your music video, you can have your clips, you can have clips of you talking, you know, little live videos if you're a live performing artist, and making it more, I think, visually attractive as well as having the core information. Yeah, give it a go.
Yeah, make it super concise as well. If someone's just glancing at it for 30 seconds, they don't want to see huge kind of paragraphs of text. Keep it kind of, you know, make your highlights kind of stand out so they're easy to see.
No,
Anything more
I
to add?
don't have anything to add. That's fine.
Another question? Have we got time?
If it's
Oh,
a very
sorry.
quick question.
I'm not very good at timekeeping. Sorry.
Is it a question? Is it an actual question?
Roxanne's very hard. Just a question to you, Annie. Roughly the ratio that you spent on traditional PR before to what you're spending now. Do you have an idea of that?
Well, I spent £800 for a 1-month campaign. And my biggest problem was I kept having to hassle the guy that was doing the PR to actually tell me what he was achieving, and that just kind of, I don't like that at all. So what I ended up doing, which I've kind of been building upon over the last 2 years, is creating a massive spreadsheet of blogs, playlisters, radio presenters, and it's really time consuming, so I can't even measure how much, if I'd been paying myself, how much time that would have taken, but it's something that I knew that if I got together it would be a really useful resource. So I'd say actually like it's probably taken much more time than money to create that, but for me I have more time than money, so it depends if you do. Like I know other friends who have got better paid jobs than I do, and they've got less time and they decide to employ someone. I don't think I think it completely depends on your own circumstance, but in terms of digital marketing on Facebook, I've definitely spent a lot less than £800 a month. Cool. Are we good? Thanks, guys. Thank you so much, everybody. Round of applause for our panelists.